All right, getting into it. But the first question, what got me into Dragon Ball? Well, what got me into Dragon Ball initially is I was a kid back in the late '90s when it started coming on Fox Kids, like very early in the morning. One of those early show slots, you know, kind of shows you that it wasn't a top mainstream, mainstream cartoon or franchise, but it was starting to get its notoriety and started getting some syndication. So, and I was into martial arts back then. I was in karate back then. Fox Kids was always the go-to station for me, besides Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. Uh, I got I got more into Dragon Ball Z. I want to say what not from Tsunami, not from Cartoon Network, but a little earlier than that I could remember on Saturday mornings, like around 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. They would show movies on the TV stations because TV was completely different back then. But they had but before Dragon Ball started making it on cable, I started to to watch it based on the three movies that they actually came out with animated. And this is before they started getting deep into the sagas. Because everything right here you see are the sagas. But they had movies like The Tree of Might, The World's Strongest, and the one in my I'll get to it later in the later question. But they had the one with the Dead Zone. That's what it was called. So what got me into Dragon Ball Z was during the time of the '90s, you had a lot of shows from the '80s that were still getting played, like on Cartoon Network. A lot more popular shows like Thundercats. There was probably like some more Gundams. Uh, I did not see Fist of North Star back then. I was born in '91, but on Cartoon Network, I did not see any Fist of North Star. I saw that stuff a lot later, and I want to say there, there were probably some, video games in arcades. Or I might be stretching it out of proportion, but yeah, there was other things that exposed me to Dragon Ball Z that I could say that were just promotional things and not like full episodes. But those three movies, Tree of Might, The World's Strongest, and Dead Zone, that's that's what got me into the series, and what got me deeper into the franchise was like the Frieza saga and let me see, like Ginyu Force. That's what really got me into Dragon Ball Z. It made it one of my favorite anime shows or franchise that for a franchise. You could say the Ginyu Force. That stuff was amazing to me, and as well as Garlic Jr. Like with Dead Zone and that saga that they came afterwards. But we'll probably get deeper into it with more questions going down. So the so the next question is, who is your favorite character and why? My favorite character from Dragon Ball Z is Frieza. Frieza was like the first villain that I ever saw on anything, whether that be live action, animated, maybe even a video game. Maybe the closest thing you can compare him to back then was like Shao Kahn or like Idol from Killer Instinct or many of these other fighting game franchises and things like that. But as far as animated, like when Frieza first killed Bardock, before they came out with the Bardock movie, they had like the clips on Cartoon Network. Maybe they could have been showing the Bardock movie, but the clip in the scene that I always used to catch back then, late in '96 or '7, was Frieza. I was Frieza in outer on the outer orbiting of his ship, sitting inside of that. Y'all remember that kind of capsule thing he was sitting in, but Bardock and all the resistance and regime, all those soldiers that Frieza had around planet Namek, when Frieza he with the tip of his finger created a giant key bomb or however you want to describe it, but he used his fingertip like this just to like wipe out an entire planet, genocide, all of that stuff. Like you will not find a scene like that on anything unless you like read comic books, and they got them in the scans and those material. But just watching the visual motion of Frieza destroy like millions or billions of people like that, that was like the ultimate. It couldn't be outdone. Not in anime back then, and but now it's a different story. There's different feats. People know how to power scale characters. People bring up the comic book material. We got Thanos in the movies doing things like taking out half a universe and stuff. But the most violent and vicious villain or character at that time was definitely Frieza. And then he got a whole saga, and then he had his task force, the Ginyu Force, and he was like so dedicated to getting those Dragon Balls. He wanted to become immortal, and he had all these. He had 4 forms. Dragon Ball, it'll set you in with a saga, give you those episodes, but run you in with the mythos pretty well, establishing more information each episode, and just getting deeper into the storylines. But after you watch a saga or the season on TV, you got to go rent a movie, kind of like those Tree of Mice and Dead Zones, Frieza's brother, Cooler, had his own movie. So that's another main character. Like Dragon Ball Z, just when it's going one direction, you know, straightforward, and it gives you another turn, there is always like another set of turn to an alternate storytelling or some alternate form of a character, and the stakes become higher and higher, like their power level, their skills, uh, and all those intricate type of dramatic, uh, it gets very deep and complex with its characters. I like how story driven Dragon Ball Z was, because no other cartoon was going from point A to point B all the way to like point Z. And by that, I mean it started with the origin from Dragon Ball. Then it went into proceeding sagas, sequels, installments. But it had the beginning, the middle, the end, with several different climaxes and several high stakes and hierarchies of characters and storylines. But Frieza definitely is my favorite character because his his level of lethalness, his psychology, like like by like he's cunning, he's violent, and he was the most terrifying like type of figure up until like the androids came. And but when Frieza, that my I probably should, well, I don't want to spoil another question yet, but Frieza, that guy was 100% just just the ultimate alpha villain. That's just how apex predator, kind of an apex predator. Like he set the bar pretty high for villains in cartoons and things like that. So I'm going I'm gonna definitely say Frieza. Next question. Well, my favorite saga is definitely that Namek Frieza saga, which is what seasons 2 and 3. Yeah, because back when Dragon Ball Z was getting played on Fox Kids, and they tried to you know persist into the Frieza material, that's when it started getting a little too explicit for that audience, and they had to take it off Fox Kids, and you wouldn't see it again until like those time slots on Toonami late at night, and then in the afternoon. So, but Frieza Saga, that's my favorite one. All right. Number 4. My favorite DBZ movie, I'm gonna have to say, oof, give me a moment. I'm good. I'm gonna have to say, History of Trunks because, uh, excuse me, excuse me, but History of Trunks, I'm gonna say is my favorite because it was a dual timeline. It was like there's Trunks' time, there's Cell time, then there's Dr. Giro's time. It was this dual or triple different time frames, alternate universes and fillers and stuff. But the one DBZ world I found to be the most interesting, but History of Trunks is kind of sad. It's pretty sad. Dramatic. It's dramatic and it's pretty depressing, especially because in the beginning of it, Piccolo, Tien, uh, Chao, yeah, Chaozu, Yamcha, Yamcha, and Vegeta, they all die violently, and the androids managed to be, ooh, managed to be more vile and brutal than Frieza. And I was just talking about Frieza about how like this he genocided a whole entire planet, and that's something he does on a regular. But those androids kind of they were pure evil because they were toying with mankind, just going slowly. Like, oh, give me a moment for a sip. Slowly, but they were terrorists slash sociopaths, and they had no empathy or no emotions for any life on Earth. Their mission was to kill Goku, but Goku died from a virus in that timeline. And but the crazy thing is, Gohan was the excuse me. Gohan was the last person to live during that timeline, and well, him and Bulma, I like the little relationship they had, because Vegeta is Trunks' father, but Vegeta died, so excuse me, so Trunks has to grow up with a single father, and the world he's in, it's just devastated, like completely devastated. If you haven't seen History of Trunks, you gotta watch that one because it's pretty dark. Uh, it's definitely worth shedding tears over. But I never cried. I didn't cry when I watched it. But now when I think about it, it's a pretty damn dark and sad, storyline. That 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 set of lore in Dragon Ball, it was probably the most emotional out of all of the uh, pretty much out of the whole series. But yeah, Gohan has one arm. Even he has only one arm. He and then his connection to Trunks, teaching him how to become Super Saiyan. I liked it. I like that type of character development. He's steady trying to teach Trunks how to become Super Saiyan, and Trunks every time they train, he couldn't get to it. But today, Android 17 and 18 killed Gohan, who's supposed to be almost as powerful as Goku. Man, like those androids, they devastated everyone, and they devastated everyone's life on Earth. It was crazy. But Trunks being the main character, you empathize with him for his personal being and the fate of mankind because of those two androids. Now they they kill Gohan, but um, yeah, they kill Gohan, but Trunks he becomes a Super Saiyan after that. Like out of the whole entire run of the film, the part that gets you the most emotional, and I don't want to spoil any other questions yet, but the part that'll get you the most emotional is when Trunks he turns Super Saiyan. But the moment he does, it is the most. It's not like, well, every time a Saiyan in the series turns Super Saiyan for the first time, it's pretty heavy. The conditions around them, like the on Namek, or when Vegeta did it turn by himself, or Goku on Namek. There's always that one cue that sets them off. But when Gohan dies, and well, he's one of my favorite characters. He would be my favorite, you know, hero, superhero on Dragon Ball. But man, when he dies, when Trunks turns Super Saiyan, you really feel it for him because his father, that was a Super Saiyan, Vegeta, he pretty much got washed by them 17 and 18. I mean, they kill him. You even see what they do to Vegeta in the timeline of the main of the Cell Saga when 18 breaks his arm and stuff. But the but that brutality is nothing compared to where Trunks comes from, because he is literally humanity's last hope. Uh, so yeah, very emotional moment for Trunks. When Gohan dies and he goes berserk and turns into a Super Saiyan, probably around the same age that Gohan learns to turn Super Saiyan. Now I'm connecting these two comparisons. Gohan learns how to turn Super Saiyan from his dad in the hyperbolic time chamber, but Trunks also was. They probably be the same age. Trunks' timeline is Gohan died. Is Gohan, he dies, and then Trunks becomes a Super Saiyan. But it's just so it's so um I, I don't want to say sad, but it's pretty depressing. But you feel, but you feel for that character when that happens. Uh, the next question. Oh, So the history of Trunks is my favorite DBZ movie, but my favorite video game from Dragon Ball Z. I'll show y'all two of them. Yeah, this is the Budokai 1 and 3 on PS3, and like I used to have them when I was a kid. You know, 2, 3, play the game, beat the game, maybe use a few cheat codes. Uh, yeah, those were pretty pretty fun playing it with my friends and cousins. But nowadays it's a different gaming situation. I get to play online and stuff like that. So, but the best one I think so far is this one, or maybe Budokai 3 is the best. But this one for sure has got to be at least number 2, maybe number 3 on the Dragon Ball Z games. I don't know. Y'all let me know uh, which Z fighting game is the best in your opinion, or however you feel about that. So Budokai Tenkaichi for PS3 ported ported from PS2, and Z Fighters for Xbox One. Okay, number 5, my favorite moment in all of Dragon Ball Z. Now, when it comes to fiction and all all those type of mythologies and mediums and stuff like that, I'm pretty heavy as a fan of the bad guy, the villain, the heel, you know, those type of darker, those rogue characters, or those boss characters. Uh, like for instance, my favorite, like nothing to do with Dragon Ball Z, but just to give you an idea of the type of characters that are my favorite. I like Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. That's my favorite character, like period. And but then so I have a list of favorite uh, villains, but then I have my list of heroes. The heroes is gonna be that second tier under. So, what I'm trying to explain through that is Frieza. Of course, I've said it. He's my favorite character, and I explained about how he just destroyed planets when no other show on TV, live action, or animated. Unless y'all know, I could probably think of maybe some of those sci-fi space odyssey shows like Star what um Star Trek or something like that. I know in the first Star Wars movie they busted the planet, but Frieza, this dude casually wipes them out with the tip of his finger. That dude showed me a whole nother level of power. Like it, it hooked me on after that. So my favorite Dragon Ball Z moment, my favorite Dragon Ball Z moment of all time, Frieza killing Bardock and his entire army and the entire planet Vegeta. That that will always set the standard up up in my well, it'll set it up higher for my viewing, my point of view. Sorry for inaccurate, you know, words or whatever, but yeah. So Frieza destroying planet Vegeta. Like I I would I would probably lose my mind if they actually ever got Dragon Ball Z right in a movie. That moment when Frieza just does this in live action at a high budget, high quality, man, that is a moment that I'll be anticipating to see. But it's good to see it in the video games too. But yeah, Frieza destroying that planet. I'm repeating it because it exposed me to power power in such a diabolical character like that. So that's my favorite moment. The destruction of Planet Vegeta. Yeah, Planet Vegeta. Next question is, what is your one criticism of Dragon Ball Z? Now, as big of a story Dragon Ball Z is, as you can see, like this here, this is 9 seasons, and previous to it was Dragon Ball, and that had I'm not sure how many seasons Dragon Ball lasted. I watched some some of the Dragon Ball episodes and things like that, but I've never completed that season, so that's probably something I'm gonna need to get on and try to watch eventually. Just like there's all sorts of those movies that I gotta watch too, the animated ones. Um, but a criticism for Dragon Ball, as far as just staying within the animated series, I criticize one thing to an extreme, and that was Dragon Ball GT. GT disappointed me like like a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. That's how big it disappointed me. The only thing I liked on GT that I watched was Omega Shenron, but Goku turning into a child again? What? Why couldn't they just use Gohan? I've heard other people say this before in their videos or whatnot, but why not just why they couldn't base the series off Gohan and Gohan raising Pan and you know probably give they could have put more Saiyans, more Saiyan, oh goodness, I gotta say it right, Saiyans in in that series like Brawly or just come up with new material. Why? It, GT. I GT just disappointed me. It really did. That's my criticism of the series, and that's because it wasn't Akira Toriyama's story. We got Dragon Ball Super now, but GT. I mean, I like Omega Shenron and that little saga, but man, GT is like, what's that term? Uh, it is like the ultimate cash grab. Cash grab. That's all it was. Cash grab, I guess, because that franchise stood on no type of substance. Like, it was a pretty lame series. That's my criticism, pretty much, out of the Dragon Ball series. Z was perfect. Uh, Dragon Ball was perfect, but GT, man, for a sequel to Z, like, man, I won't be owning any GT DVDs. I'll tell you that. GT was just boo boo. But let's get to the next question. Oh, the last question. What is one change you would make to the DBZ franchise? Now, I could think of like a dozen things you could do for Dragon Ball. Whether that's power scaling, uh, giving characters their own get individual sagas, whether that's origin stories or probably just more installments for villains and the heroes. Like, Dragon Ball probably set up Tien and Yamcha and Chaozu pretty good, but and then with Dragon Ball Super, we have 12 universes. So I say, why don't they make a whole entire Z series for Jiren? Why not make a entire backstory, origin story, whatever you want to call it, and give that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons for Jiren? Since he's that powerful, or hit, or give us, you know, a a a series for the angel characters and the Kais. I want to see how they came into existence, you know, and start tracing stories from A, B, all the way down to Z, just like you did with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Like, create, show us more characters that are in the that are the backstory, pretty much, to Dragon Ball Z. Like those Guardians of the Earth, those dudes in the robes, in the robes and stuff like that. Uh, Wearing the purple robes had Kami and who else was it? It was Kami and gosh, it was in the Garlic Junior saga, but those guys that passed on the Earth Guardian ship to Kami because he's a Namekian and he's got the Dragon Balls, or and then that's when he became when Piccolo separated from him. Yeah, I want to see like how did uh, like forgive all that um like a Ox King story wouldn't be bad, or a young Master Roshi set of movies, or so pretty much going in depth with every back character and every familiar character, and just give us like movies, animated movies about these characters, of their backstories, and you know their origin story, or and things like that. But yeah, I'd say add more installments would be the change I would make. More animated movies for 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 a plethora of characters, villains, heroes, because they just don't do it like comic books do, where there's lots of issues and a de- they've got a detailed lore for all of their heroes and villains. With Dragon Ball Z, they just need to do that with animated movies, I would say. But that's pretty much all I would change for the Dragon Ball franchise. So, ho- hope y'all enjoyed. And the person that I want to, I think is plug for the next video is, well, I would hope maybe Robert Storms could do one for this 7 Shinron challenge. Shinron 7. Oh goodness, Shinron 7's challenge. Uh, and there is someone else. What was his name? Oh man, I'll figure it out later. But I'm gonna just go with Robert Storms because that's the only person I can think that makes videos and things like this that could really give you a good Dragon Ball Z Q&A. But thanks Kinemation Studios for starting this, and yeah, everybody keep making the videos, showing us how you got into Dragon Ball, what your likes were, or the moments and complaints within the franchise for you were. But yeah, 30 years of Dragon Ball Z. For me, it started in '96. But that's pretty much all I got to say. And peace out.